Hello there.
Hey y'all, this is Tim of TDG with my partner and buddy Carl, and in today's video we'll be discussing our thoughts on the new patch in PoE2, and we'll even be discussing a little bit of the Last Epoch at the end, and just how that release is coming up on the 17th next week, which will be a lot of fun to dive into. But otherwise, Carl, let's dive in. So, for you, buddy, how are you enjoying the patch?
It's been rough. Somebody who started as a huntress was really looking to get into some combo playstyle. It's been tough. We'll leave it at that. Bleed is not fully fleshed out, but yeah, it's been fun.
I mean, that combo's you're setting up that combo pretty well, right? When all the monsters are already swarming you and you're still waiting for your twisters to go out.
Dude, it's the parry mechanic is fun. Like it's real rewarding to do it. But they need to do something like an auto lock or something. I parry monsters and I disengage, and I don't get any charges because it disengages the wrong enemy. It's a mess. But
Fair.
the concept is fun, but it's rough. There'll be a little montage going out later this week where you get to see some of my my most epic moments, we shall say, running through Dreadnought. And one of them, I just get absolutely stun locked into oblivion by three humanoids with monster swords. My poor little huntress didn't stand a chance.
So, quick follow-up question to that: how many times have you died so far? In how many hours?
I think we looked it up yesterday. It was like 48 times just to get to the middle of Act 3.
So, I'm at you're at wait 48 at the end of Act 3.
The middle of Act 3. Dude, it's bad. It's like it doesn't matter how fast I try to run away; they're faster than me. So it's either fight to the death with 0 DPS, by the way, or attempt to run and gun.
Yeah, well, I am running the real 0 DPS build, and so far I'm in the middle of Act 2, and I've died 11 times. 8 of my deaths were in Act 1, especially with the kind of launch of the patch initially, which was god-awful. And I'm running a Smith of Gatava. That's been a ton of fun. I'm already max res at Act 2, which is absolutely ridiculous. Problem is I do absolutely no damage. I'm still figuring out like what to do with Perfect Strike and how to use Rolling Slam, and it's been fun. I've enjoyed this patch, actually, personally. I know we've had like opposite reactions, and I'm on the odd end of the spectrum. Again, this is my first time running Warrior. I've literally not had a problem with a single boss. I'm not even kidding. Like, I've just sat there and face tanked because I'm doing life regen. So it's been like, I wouldn't say the opposite of your experience, but it's been a bit of a slog too, though, as we kind of talked about the 0 DPS already, and how, again, it takes forever to kill a monster. It just, we are so weak. With me, and as well, I wanted to kind of ask, at least in your opinion, with patch point 2, like, what do you think is the most pressing issue?
Player agency over like defense. I feel like, and a lot in today, like you might hear me compare to PoE1, and I know they're different games, but I have 2,900 hours basically in PoE1, so not that I'm an expert on it or whatever, but as far as like the feel of the games, PoE1 feels like a game that you can kind of craft the way that you're playing. You have some answers for what's going on in the game, whether that be resistance coming off the tree, crafting bench to throw stuff on your gear early game, and kind of be able to mess around with it. I feel like PoE2, they went for that, and I understand Jonathan and Mark when they talk about using the runes as that system, and in theory, like that's really cool and it's really fun, but you just don't get enough of the artificer orbs. And I know today they rolled out the patch that added, I think it's 12 throughout the first the campaign. I guess it's the first three acts, but it'll be the first 6
hold
acts.
on, I can pull it up really quick. Let me see.
Yeah, I think it's 12 throughout the campaign, but that I actually think is going to make a really big difference. So here,
yeah, it's 12. It's 12, by the way.
Yeah, just to compare. So I don't have it up in front of me. The game's updating at the moment, but I'm pretty sure my resistance currently is 32 fire, like 10 lightning, and negative 10 cold, 0 chaos. So like even that, right, from that example, it's just a different game. It's not really that I'm looking or not looking for upgrades. It's like trying to find things that work, right? There's so little control over being able to get move speed boots that my boots are still from like the first zone of the game.
Yep.
You know, I don't know. It is what it is. It's not bad. I really do enjoy how hard it is at times.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish it felt a little bit more fair with some of the fights.
So,
But again,
what does fair
that
mean?
could
Like,
also,
what does that mean?
so that's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think fair should mean like I think I showed you a clip the other day where I'm running through Dreadnought and it's just like you're just swarmed
Yep.
and there's nothing you can do. And like you're not supposed to be getting chain stunned, but I could show you clips of I am clearly being chain stunned and it's like I don't know why I even bother trying to control the character. Stuff like that.
Right.
But other than that, it's just kind of fleshing things out and figuring out how to stack things up. Like, so the Amazon class specifically, right? The Ascendancy.
Mm-hmm.
I was really excited to try to make that work for a bleed build. And yesterday I did my second Ascendancy and realized actually none of these do anything. So,
Oh no. This is useless.
Well, kind of, right? Like, so I was really excited to be able to throw the Ascendancy in. I'm going to pull it up now. The Huntress, or the excuse me, the Amazon, where she gets the extra crit for her accuracy.
Right.
And so I threw that on just to see if it would change, and my bleed didn't move, so it was completely pointless. I'm sure if I spec'd through that and went to penetrate, attacks using your weapon have physical attack damage added to them. I'm sure that would work, but that basically means I have to spend 4 points to get a 2-point node.
Right.
And then on the other one, right, my first 2 points I threw into Predatory Instinct, which that definitely helps, right? Like that does a little bit. But in for the kill, it's kind of like oxymoronic in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You get increased move speed, which is always nice, right? But the other thing is increased skill speed while the enemy has open weakness. It's irrelevant how much skill speed I have or attack speed I have, because my bleeds stack for either 4 or 5 seconds. I forget what it is that's base in POE2.
Right.
And unless you take the node on the tree that causes your bleeds to aggravate but also only last for 1 second, so you have to constantly stack your bleed,
mm-hmm.
that's the only way that's useful. So I kind of hit a moment where I was just like, well, what am I actually building towards?
Right.
What is my next step?
And for you, you're kind of getting stonewalled into just like there's not much here, is what I'm kind of understanding.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we got the start of what the build is going to be for bleed.
Sure.
Gladiator, I got to imagine, is gonna bring out the other half, if not more, of this.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that. As you kind of know, I was really hoping that would come out this time, but unfortunately it didn't. However, I would say it's almost the complete opposite for me in terms of like, I guess how important the Ascendancy is, because it's like a night and day difference. Obviously, I literally went from, after I ascended to Smith of Katava, the resistances for Cold Fire and Lightning went from like 35, 43, and 43 up to like 87, 75, and 79. Like I'm max capped already at Act 2, which is kind of insane. And again, like your experience with the patch and so many others has been kind of opposite of mine, other than the fact that it takes me eons to kill people. Like I will sit there and just head bonk bosses over and over and over while I just face tank the entire time, because I'm working on a health regen build, and that's it. I don't take any like attack nodes. I have been taking them now, and I'm like level 30ish, right? But it takes so long. Even for the white mobs, it takes forever. And even with my health regen and the armor and the defense of the warrior that it provides, there are still times though I'm running away from the monsters. And they talked about that, Jonathan and Zizarin, and I was curious what you thought about this, because this was really interesting. This is kind of like a mechanic I never thought of about monster speed, right? And whether the monsters need to be slow and you go and attack them, or again the speed of the monster being too fast and catching up. And I was kind of curious what you thought about, like, again, I don't think the question is like, what is the correct monster speed, but like what's the, I guess, the middle ground between monster speed and them being slow and you being able to kind of just like bulldoze them over, you know?
Well, so first thing there, just question on when you're talking about the Ascendancy.
Yeah.
How much of POE 1, if any, have you played?
I mean, we're talking like tops, what, 8-10 hours maybe with you,
Okay. So,
if I remember
okay.
correctly. So like, again, I've played probably like 10 hours of PoE1, and then maybe I could pull it up, but I'm probably around 200 some hours of PoE2, I would assume.
Okay, so the reason I asked that is the Smith of Catava Ascendancy is pretty similar. It's not a direct pull, but it's a pretty similar ascendancy to its chieftain in PoE1.
Right, I've heard
Where,
this.
yeah, and it's super defensive. You get your max fire res, or you get all of your resistance really from the ascendancy, and then you get all of your max res from the ascendancy as well. Typically, that's the RF build in PoE1. You
Right,
kind of spec into that, and it just makes leveling super easy, especially as a first character.
right.
So I know that when we were talking pre-patch, we kind of leaned into that, and I'm kind of wishing I would have done that actually,
Yeah,
because it.
you had a good totem build set up.
I did. I thought that would be really fun. It'd be a cool idea. It was really centered around the same thing that you're playing now: is just stack as much life regen as you can, and don't worry about your damage.
Yep.
Let your totems do it.
Yep.
And I think the conversation we had surrounding that was actually one that was really interesting. And actually, this kind of leads into the other question you had about monster speed. But, you know, I think Zizarin was talking about this too, that in so many of these ARPGs, the number one focus becomes how hard can you scale your damage? How big can you make the number go? And I think a really interesting thing is more on the lines of like, how tanky can you be, right? How defensive can you be where, getting one shot by a white mob or getting crit isn't going to just absolutely end your life. And the Smith of Catava like really opens a lot of that up, right? With a lot of the freedom of choice, whether that be, allowing you to go and make really easy resistances, and then going into utilizing the free suffixes to stack extra strength, and then taking the armor node that allows you to get 20% extra armor, comboing that with some increased max life, which I think it exists in one place on the tree and in one other ascendancy, it's hugely valuable, right? And I just think that it really opens up a lot of doors from the creative aspect that way, where you can kind of really lean into your ascendancy tree, your skill tree, to be completely offensive, or to do what you're doing and just be like, I'm going to be super tanky, and I'm going to see where I need to take offense and let the game kind of force your hand.
Yep. That's literally what I've been doing. Like, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly it, right? It's like that you get a little bit more control, because then when you talk about monster speed, I don't know if there's really a right answer. I think maybe the right answer there is, like, they have to be slow enough that they don't just hit you once and then that's it. Like, it can't be an argument of, can you run away or do you have to stand your ground, right? There has to be a thing that if they are faster than you, then they are easier to kill.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're just dead, right? If they get you when you're low on a life flask, or you get crit, or you get stunned, or you get frozen, anything, just I don't know, just starts to feel bad. How have you felt kind of playing with it, going through the early acts with the regen and the speed?
So even grabbing the initial regen nodes that are kind of off of the warrior, like I think you can get by level 10, let me think, 1 2 3 4 5, like about 6 or 7 regen nodes actually, because it's one of the initial like arms that you kind of leave from the warrior tree. And for me personally, it's kind of like the warrior was like the anti-venom to this patch and how cancerous it was. Like I felt like everyone was kind of frustrated. It's like, I'm dying and this sucks and I do no damage. It's like, yeah, I do no damage, but at least I live. Like, that's kind of how it kind of felt. Like, any monsters that really, like, again, Act 1 was a little tougher. Act 2 has been like not a challenge at all. As I said, I've been face tanking every single boss. I forget the name of the boss that's like the Titan in Titan Valley. I'm blanking on it. The big rolling roving statue with the broken sword, right?
Yeah.
I literally sat there and just kind of left clicked him the entire time. That is literally all I did. That and shield charge, because those are my attacks that do the most damage right now, and I have to figure that out. But for me, even that with the monster speed, like there are times where I have to back up a little bit because I'm like, oh crap, like if I continue to take hits, even with full res, I might die, right? But like for the most part, I'm able to kind of easily get out of it with like a leap slam or a rolling attack along into bone shatter, right? Or rolling slam into bone shatter. It's like not a big deal because I don't even have to worry about using a life flask because I'm seeing my health get like drop to 5, like halfway. Like again, I get swarmed literally, but I'm able to take the damage, and then I rolling slam into bone shatter, and they're mostly all gone, and then my health continues to go back up. Like it hasn't been a major issue, but there are still times, even with that though, that I'm kind of backing up until I'm able to actually clear them out, and there are times where I really struggle. So. And I think that's more of a damage issue, but my survivability is pretty darn good. So again, I wouldn't say my opinion's skewed on the patch because I've seen how everybody's like pissed about it. But it's for me, it's like it hasn't been that bad. I feel like Warrior was kind of the perfect pick for what this patch provided, which was well, just a lot of difficulty spikes, I'd say.
Yeah,
That's kind of my take on it.
no, and I think that's really valid there. And I think another thing that both of us did going into this was we didn't really go in with anything pre-prepared as far
Yeah,
as wanting to be, the best builds or X, Y, or Z. And GGG kind of helped that, right? They didn't release patch notes until pretty late, and even then, they never released a skill tree update, so you couldn't even do anything on path of building to really get an idea.
honestly, I love that though.
But yeah, I mean, it was fun, right? It
Yeah.
kind of it just made things go. So
Hmm.
like one of my favorite build creators, content creators is Pox, right? I
Right.
followed his builds for years playing RF, and very early on he found a just unbelievable Amazon build where he's using I think it's the Lightning Spear and Thunderous Leap combo.
Right.
It it just deletes everything, and I'll tell you, it was really tempting to be like, okay, this is terrible. I was hard stuck on the Act 2 boss for I don't know, 3 hours. Like it was,
Three
dude, it was so
hours.
yeah, man. Like the DPS was bad, and probably some of that's my fault. I should have probably really just gone back and farmed some zones. I'm thick-headed. Whatever.
You really feel like you
Um,
need the farm zone, so if you're at like the correct level within the zone, though.
yeah, and that's the problem, right? I don't know that you necessarily should, and maybe that's just luck of the draw, and maybe I didn't have a weapon that was good enough.
Fair.
And it is what it is. I don't know, but to me, like that does speak volumes that maybe the bleed is underwhelming. Like I don't think I pointed this out in the first video I did on the build guide or the build update, is that I don't think I should have to rely on stomping grounds, and the build really didn't feel good until I put stomping grounds into it.
Yeah.
So it's not that everything's bad or that everything's good. I think that there are some stuff that is really, really strong right now, like that Lightning Spear Thunder Sleep build, and it looks really
Sure.
good.
Mm-hmm.
So part of me is like on the verge of caving because it just looks like it'd be fun to play, and the other part of me is
Which
like,
is
no,
fair.
stick to the principle of what you were doing. I just genuinely, truthfully, I don't know how far the bleed pushes.
I
I don't know.
think
It's
you're
just
limited.
hard.
I think you're limited, right? Like, I mean, yes, this is like, it's technically early access, I guess, and they're trying to say they treat it like a real game. But the thing is like, at least I think for you, because you're POE1 player, right? I'm not. Like, you that's a complete game, like easily. POE2 is
Yeah.
not in comparison, obviously, and so like there are things missing. Like the bleed build, as you said, like only pushes so far, and then you're like, well, this is it. I have nothing else, right? And whereas, again, I think we talked about it earlier in the week, it's like there's a lot of lightning nodes on the tree in every direction almost, and like you can do a lot more with lightning at least. So there are things that are definitely missing, I'd say. 100%. Follow up as well. If you could pick a pressing issue to patch right now or something to put in the game, what would it be?
Defense. It's not even a question. It's defense.
Okay. How?
Oh, man, it doesn't matter.
I know there's
I
so
know they
many,
have
but
yeah. Man, I don't like this. It's turning into like me bashing on the game, and it's not. It's still a lot of fun. I have 260 hours, 250 hours into early access already.
fair.
So I think one of the main things is that I enjoy is I like being able to spec into defense. Like I said, PoE1, my favorite build is RF.
Right.
Just being as tanky as humanly possible, and then kind of just the damage becomes, damage over time. Just mitigate them down, just outlast them. But I think a big thing that sticks out to me is I think there's 3% life added on the tree. That's it. I feel like that really limits what you can do. I know they want the tree to be different, multiplicative in nature, and really powerful. But I don't know. I just feel like something is missing there. We could stick on armor, right? That's still broken. Like, it just doesn't feel very good.
Yep.
And I know Jonathan and Mark said when they were talking to this, they want to really look into that, figure out why it doesn't feel good. They don't feel that they should just have to change a number to make it work.
We still need to look into that.
Yeah, but like part of that, like for me, part of that is silly because they had this argument. I don't remember if it was 4 years ago or 5 years ago in PoE1. They had to buff. They literally had to buff the number.
Yeah.
It was a divisible number, whatever it was. It was reducing armor by too much. They had to make armor worth more. And that's really hard. Armor is a thing anyway that's not really built for endgame big bonks. It's built for a lot of little hits that happen all at once,
Right.
or that are sporadic. And the lower the hit is, the more it mitigates, right? So if you think about it, it's really a mapping buff, because a boss should be able to hit you for hard enough damage anyway that it quote unquote will penetrate your armor.
Right.
So, but generally, I would say defense. I think we need tools to be able to convert physical damage into elemental. I think just that alone actually would really help.
Agreed.
PoE1, you could convert something like, you could definitely get to 100%, but pretty easily, I think you can get to about 30 or 40% physical damage converted. So I don't know, that would be my answer. What do you think? What is the number one thing that you feel today would be most pressing?
Man, again, for me, like, I would maybe say defense, but here's the problem with me. Like, I am the type of person to be kind of happy with anything. So it's like, again, obviously, I hear people's like, these are the issues that are happening, right? I think the fact that, I guess the amount of low damage we do is, at least not initially, but like it builds up over time, right? Especially right now, the damage we do is not enough. Than the damage the monsters do just is much more. And as you kind of said, defense, like I wish, again, and I've been waiting, like armor is, I wouldn't say it's useless, but like the general consensus was like, hey, evasion and energy shield, don't even touch armor, right? Right. Whereas as a warrior, it's like you kind of have to pick armor, right? I guess. But it's, again, I would have to say at least adding in a core component of what defense is supposed to be, and armor is part of that, and it's not like, it's like that is a very important part of the game, and it's just not there. So I would personally say armor in that regard. But also, now that I think about it, like acts 4, 5, and 6, like I kind of want to see the rest of the story, but like I know that's not that's not like a massive component, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I will tell you, that is, forget the classes, all of that will come. I am so excited to see where this story goes. It's been actually really fun. I like how much they focused on the story and the lore behind everything. And, again, you're not familiar with a lot of these characters, but like seeing Alva, like her storyline, or seeing Doriani, as somebody who, again, like I played so much PoE1, getting to see them pull these characters and give them lore, give them meaning, and putting things together with them has been really fun. So actually, I would second that. Act 4, 5, 6. I literally cannot wait to see what they do with it. I'm dying to see if they bring Xana in. I don't know why. I have this weird feeling that she's going to end up being a major role of Endgame.
Okay. So you're predicting Xana, who I have no idea that is, by the way, and I guess I'll have to play through PoE1. You're predicting she's going to have a big part in this game.
I just feel like they can't not bring her in. She's the daughter of Shaper in PoE1. She's the person who opens up all the atlases, and
okay.
I should say the maps that are on the atlas. If anybody listening in, I would say, if you ever just want to hear a little bit of like crazy backstory, crazy lore, you should look into some of the lore around Xana. When she was first introduced into the game, she was somebody, or a character, that was presented to you as like this innocent, character, this innocent person. You were there to help her. And through the expansions, they've really let out a lot of information about her and a lot of like details. And you could see how like she has this line that she would say, "Still sane, exile," when
Right.
you'd finish a map and talk to her. And that was always just like a quirky little like line that she had.
Mm-hmm.
And come to find out with some of the expansions that she locked people away. That the Atlas would turn the adventurers mad. It would turn them crazy.
Right.
And it brought out like some questions like, is she actually asking us? Is she threatening? Like, is she threatening to lock you away in the Atlas so you can never come back? Is that
Mm-hmm.
what the question is? And also a really cool thing about it is she's been around since the beginning of the Atlas. Everybody else who's been in and out of the Atlas has become corrupted. Their mind has gone mad.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow she's still perfectly fine,
Mm.
unaffected.
So the completion of that, or added into how everything rolls out in Acts 4, 5, and 6, is going to be pretty cool to see. I'm
Yeah,
gonna. I don't know if I can play POE1 in between before that, but it may have to, just to kind of hear the story, because I'm a sucker for storytelling.
I will make you play through as an RF build. It will happen.
Okay. Yeah, I remember I've been putting it off as much as possible, just out of sheer spite at this point. But
That's
I was
best build
curious
ever.
as well. This is kind of a offshoot question, but it does have to do with like the patch and just the things they've added in. Have you found a single good unique yet?
The question should be, have I found a unique yet?
That's also
I
true.
think I think I found rampant repeater. I think is what it's called. I don't have it in front of me, but I found a crossbow. That's been all. That's been all I found.
Do you remember if it
But
was good or
again,
not?
it's not from what I remember from last patch. It wasn't very good. I don't think it was adjusted. But
Yeah.
it's I'm only halfway through Act 3. Kind of taking my time through it. So
Fair.
no, not of yet. What about you?
I found a, what was it, a wand, and
I
it's,
saw that.
yeah, it has like nice like I think it's in my it's in episode 2 of the
Yeah.
Kitava build, and I'm like, okay, like the first few stats are like mana regeneration. It would be like good for like a sorcerer or something, and then the last one's like, okay, in the presence of your allies, if they use a spell, they leech your mana or your health. I'm like, all right, this is crap. This is great. Like I would never, so I just don't
Well,
play with friends. This game is
so,
no.
so to have their back just a little bit here. Technically, that weapon got a passive buff this patch because they
Okay.
shortened they shortened the duration, not the duration, the diameter of presence. So
Okay.
technically, pick it up hot off the press. That weapon got buffed. It's best
That's
it's thought.
that's true. That's true. Okay, I was that is a good point out with the presence, and they reduced it 6 to 4, right? If I remember correctly,
I think so.
it was like 6 to
That
4
sounds
meters.
right.
Yeah, but oh, so I know we've talked about kind of the most pressing problems or issues in our opinions, but do you have, again, this is one thought I have, or is there something you like about this patch?
Yes. So, obviously, I haven't gotten to experience it yet, but from what I've heard, Endgame is unbelievable right now.
So it's
People
something
have
you
been,
may like.
yeah, sounds like it's going to be something I really like.
Okay.
Well, that's, we were talking earlier or yesterday. That's why I said to you, I might just have to swap my build up, blast through the campaign, and then just like have some fun at Endgame because this is just I can't do another week of this. I'm trying to get through this. I want to be able to play a little bit of Last Epoch and get to see what that is going to look like with this major update. And
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to playing the end game in this. So I really got to speed myself up and stop messing around.
Yeah, no, I'm really freaking excited for Last Epoch. And speaking of, that's kind of like leading into at least like the last question I at least was kind of curating as we were kind of developing this. But like, do you have a class picked out for Last Epoch, or a build that you're going for?
Not off the top of my head.
Yep.
I honestly couldn't even tell you what the classes are at the moment. I have to really look at it. I like the holy style builds, so
Mhm.
if there's anything even similar to a paladin, if they have anything resembling an RF play style, that will be what I play.
Right.
But I haven't played the game since launch week. God, was it a year and a half ago at this point.
Okay.
So I have to really see. I know they've done some updates since then, but I haven't played it or even really looked at it. But I am very excited
I
to give
mean,
it another shot.
it's been a year and a half since we played that.
Yeah, this isn't going to be a fair thing because I loaded it up last month to check it out.
Well, that doesn't count. Yeah.
If you go into your Steam page, you should be able to see your last played, and it'll tell you when it came out.
Right, but yeah, no, I already know what I'm gonna be doing. I don't care about anything else, and I'm doing Hammered in 100% just
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
as a callback to Diablo 2 because I'm a sucker for it. I remember, gosh, just again throwing the hammers and they whoosh around in circles. And I know in Last Epoch it's a little different because they go straight. And I honestly don't even want to really know because I forget if you can make the hammers go in circles. But I remember them going at least like straight in multi directions. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Surprised if you could. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you could. I know they have a lot of modifiers into their skills. So it looks like release notes was February 21st, 2024. So we're about a year and 2 months or so.
Okay, jeez.
Since that came out.
Oh my gosh.
Time flies, right?
It really does. So, okay, cool. So, any last thoughts you have, Carl, about patch 0.2 and the changes that have been made, or about Last Epoch, or anything else?
Oh God. 02.
Well, actually, honest, let me rephrase it. If you could rate at patch 0.2 in the patches of all time, where does that kind of land?
So this is not fair, and I'm gonna just preface this by saying I have not experienced the full patch, so take this with a grain of salt. However, on launch day, I normally get real excited. I get ready to go, and I don't move for about 7, 8, 12, 13 hours sometimes. And that's for POE1 especially. I'll play through and get through my maps and unlock most of my yellow maps on day one. I think I sat there for like 2 hours, and it just kind of felt like I was forcing myself to play. Now, that could be just really poor build pick by my part.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing, like I would actually kind of agree with you because even as just even playing as a warrior, I wouldn't say forcing myself, but I'm just like, okay, I'm just kind of getting through this. That's all. That's just how that's the general consensus I felt.
And I'll tell you, that's really sad because Path of Exile as a whole, as a franchise, it is literally probably my favorite franchise of all time. I mean, we've talked about this. I know Halo ranks really high up there for you.
It's number one.
If not your number one. Yeah.
Yep.
But Path of Exile is a game that I have spent so much time playing. I started playing POE1 in I think it was the end of Essence League, beginning of Breach League, or the end of Breach League, beginning of Essence. I forget what order they went in, but I think that was back in like 2016. So I've been playing these games for a long time. They're really fun, and it was actually kind of frustrating how it felt. And I will say this though, on a positive side, I really hope two things. One, I hope Jonathan and Mark decide to go against what they were saying about not updating the game in between patches. I think the game needs that. I think otherwise it's so jarring, some of the major changes they want to make. And with some of those changes and the skill changes and the nerfs, and there's just too much.
Right.
And I think that it's too much, and it starts to feel like it's a new game or a new release every time. And I just don't know that that's what people are looking for. But to kind of, even push back against that, I actually hope they don't go too much against what their initial vision was for the game. I understand needing to make the game that the people want to play. But I also understand that if the vision that they had changes too much, then the devs who are here that are passionate, I mean, you see how responsive they are. Mark literally, how many times during that interview was like, I will have that done today. And he did. By the end of the day or the next day, they were done.
Yeah.
So they are highly motivated. They are passionate about this game. And I really hope that certain changes they make don't cause them to sacrifice too much on the vision that they've had, and cater too much to the audience who, listen, sometimes we cry in the streets and we just yell and scream because that's just what gamers know how to do.
Yep.
But I hope they stay true to their vision, and then, like they say, they episodically, if you will, start to increase player power, increase the amount of control that we have. And then, listen, it's an ARPG. Over time, we get stronger and stronger anyway. So that would be my final thoughts on that. But what about you? Anything that you have, last thoughts on with that?
So, I mean, for me, just because this is kind of, I wouldn't say my introduction. Yeah, I guess it is my introduction into ARPGs a little bit, right? Because I didn't really play POE1. My background's like Halo, Gears of War 2, right? Like freaking Tarkov, for goodness sake.
What
As
about
masochistic
Diablo
as that
2's?
is, right? Like, yeah, Diablo 2, but like again, it wasn't like a major part, right? Like I remember playing Halo 1 in my basement. Like that was my childhood.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of just kind of going with it. I'm excited for it. Again, we talked about it a little bit. They kind of Helldivers the heck out of the game with this patch. That is my equivalent, where they just make everything less fun, is how it felt. And I'm hoping, obviously, they're listening and they're trying to apply, and Helldivers has even made a comeback per se, but I'm hoping it's kind of the same thing here. And again, what I would say, and what I've noticed, is the developers, as you said, are super responsive. It was literally 10 hours later after the Zizaran interview that they made some changes. So I'm hopeful, and I'm just kind of here for the ride to enjoy it, and ultimately hope to see, again, as you kind of said, like all the quality of life changes, all the additions there can be, all the possible builds, like again, a bleed build and the thorns build, and again, even expanding more into those, or even again adding more in life regen nodes to make a literal life regen only type of build. Because right now what I have could be viable, but maybe not. But it's kind of like you're just really making it work, right? But again, as they expand the game, I'm just kind of excited to see what new changes occur. And again, I think that just kind of plays into who I am, as just kind of being easily pleased with those changes, or just enjoying the ride.
So something I want to ask you based off what you just said there. So you
Yeah.
said they kind of Helldivered the game out of, or the fun out of the game.
Yep.
So my question to you would be, do you think that that's because the game is just on principle not fun, or because the game changed so drastically from 0-1 to 0-2 that it feels so much different that you almost have to relearn what, quote unquote fun is for the game?
So it's a change of pace, right? And
Yes.
what I mean by like Helldivered out of the game, right, is like, for example, the railgun in Helldivers was like a staple initially, and people were using it. I mean, mind you, abusing it, but they nerfed it so hard into the ground that no one touched it after the nerf, right? And then they eventually fixed it, but that's kind of how it felt with 0.2. Like the game is fun in principle regardless, right? But everything is like much harder now, and it's again, it's harder to kill enemies, for example. Like that's not fun, at least, right?
What I'm saying is, if they didn't leave that for 4 months, right? That was in the game for 4 months, 3 months, let's say, of people being at endgame. If that playstyle, if that speed, if that power wasn't in the game, and they would have brought that down mid-league, do you think it would have been as hard of a transition?
Wait, so sorry, what do you mean by power? Just so I fully understand.
Yeah, you saw what my Deadeye build looked like in patch 1, right? In 0-1.
Right.
I was deleting tier 4 bosses, right? It was like Esh or Zesh, whatever his name is, lasted on the screen for like under 10 seconds.
Right.
At tier 4, like that should have never been allowed to stay, right? You saw my chaining heralds, I could shoot one shot and three spheres.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So like when we compare what it was to what it is, and granted that was high end game.
Yeah.
But like, do you think the player base would have felt that visceral of a reaction if they didn't let that stay and people didn't get used to that being the game speed?
So
that's what I'm thinking the problem is. I don't actually think the game is on principle unfun. I think the game is fun. It's that we became accustomed to such a speedy, fast play style, such a zoom as we call it play style.
Oh yeah.
And now it is not.
Yeah,
and that stark contrast, right? It magnifies.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's like that expectation of like, this is what we have now. We're hoping it gets better with all because there's still problems, right? But like, oh, holy crap, what is this, right? It's like it's like you're running and then they throw a weight vest on you and say, have more fun. Right. Is kind of how it looked. But with that, any closing comments, Carl?
No, that's everything.
Okay, guys, if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Throw a comment down in the comments section below if there was any questions you had that we did not answer, or anything you guys want us to talk about. Please let us know down below. And otherwise, guys, we will see you in the next one. Peace.